Alright, we're back. We got everything strung up. Put one of the sides on. Then here's the other cord guide. There is a top and a bottom to it. Actually, that's on the bottom. Then you just have to thread your cord through the right slot in there. Let's see. And that should snug right on. As soon as you get it all the way, I like bringing it around and taping it off once again. There, we'll tape it off both sides, and that way we can take the threaded unit, slide it back into the head rail, making sure you don't pinch or cut any of the tapes you just put on there. And you slide it down, and we'll line it up with these two outer holes. Take our pins that held the motor in place, put one of them in there, and then these are kind of these C-clips are kind of a little bit of a bugger to put back on, but this is the second time I've done this repair, so I'm still learning. Anyway, pair of pliers. Hey, that worked out a little easier than I thought it was going to. Put the other one back in there, lock it into place. Hopefully this one is as kind as the other. And lo and behold, it worked. Now, what we want to do is put the material back on the rail. And then there is another, grooved slot at the bottom. That slides back in. At this point, when it's all back together, I like to put my end caps back on the head rail. That will hold hopefully it'll hold the material back in place. Alright, now the next handy tool is this lacing hook. So we're going to have to go through what I usually like doing is fishing through the bottom. And hopefully it comes through, which it did. Then we'll put the cord guide back on there. Make sure that's somewhat snapped into place and your lacing tool can still hold. Alright. Now on this one I just pulled it off the tape, but I'm going to tape it back again because I want it to hold tension until I'm ready to tie it off at the bottom. So tape that to the rail. Lace it through the hook, pull it through the bottom, and I guess another thing is critical. You want probably to have the tape as flat as possible, going from point A to point B, and that looks good. Tape that back up there. Well, sometimes it doesn't like holding. And then this is the point where you would tie it off at the bottom. Actually, why don't we do that? Why don't we tape it off at the bottom? See, you learn as you go. Just never thought of that. Anyway, now we're going to do the other one. You'll pull it from the tape. Make sure it's taut. I should have had another piece of tape ready, but I didn't. Let's see if we can steal a piece of that. That'll hold it a little. There's the hole. We're going to put that in once the lacing hook is through. They always don't like to behave. Alright, the hook's through. Put the guide through your lacing hook, and that can be just a piece of very thin wire. That's all this is. And then we'll run the tape through it just a little bit, pull it on through. It's coming out the bottom. Let's seems like we're still pretty flat. I like this idea of taping that thing back down there. Want to make sure it holds. Now, one thing we're going to do before we tie off the bottom, oop, there that went. All right, remember before how we, had these washers? One thing you can do is you can kind of use it as a way to regulate where your knot is going to be. I'm pretty even from their thickness to that side. Well, maybe this side isn't, as compressed as the other. We'll see if we can even that up. Just going to pull the tape a little bit, put some tension on it. Yep. Maybe that's what the problem was. The tape wasn't holding it. Get a fresh piece. Just a little more tension, not too much. Try to, feel it evenly left and right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pencil mark. You see where well, you may not be able to see that, but the tape is coming out of that hole and it's being held down by these two blue pieces. Now I'm going to put a pencil mark right on the edge on both sides, assuming that they're the same or as close to the same thickness as I can get them. So I'm going to put a pencil mark there as well. And then what I'm going to do is use that mark as a reference point to where I'm tying my knot. Well, this is going to be a different threaded device that you run it through the center hole and then it just pinches in the slots all the way around the corner. I'm going to try to make sure that pencil mark is right at the bottom of this piece of plastic. That'll give it a little more tension, and then there's a possibility, or a better possibility, when you're putting it up, that the shade gives a nice nice snug fit. Anyway, so I'm gonna thread that through there and then pull on the cord enough to where I see that, I don't know if you can see that, where you can see the mark. I want that to be right on the bottom of the edge when it comes in, and that's what I like about this, basically this bottom rail, or this cord tie off from Norman. Norman's cellular shades. I've had a few, actually, that they were cordless shades that they went stay in the up position, and rather than tell me how to fix them, Norman just sent new shades. So I've got some some old stuff that I can experiment with, and that's where these tie downs came from, because I wasn't very happy doing it with just the knot before, because I was having a tough time getting it to stay in alignment. Now I'm just going to keep crisscrossing this up. The neat thing about this is there's no knots in it, so you're really it's very easy to adjust the bottom rail for levelness. So that one's in. Let's slide over and do this one. This is, I was experimenting to see how that would hold. But anyway, that's why I'm just crisscrossing it across the top there. Alright, sometimes it helps if you cut the end of the tape at an angle. That will help you shoot it through the hole a little easier. Get that one done. Look for my pencil mark. And I'm just zigzagging it around the corners. This is ingenious. You don't know how. This makes it very simple to have a concealed way to always, be able to adjust the bottom. All right, well, that should be good enough. We'll try it out. If we don't like it, we can always come back and switch it out again. But now there's a groove there, and another thing we have to watch out for are the weights in the bottom rail. So we're just going to thread this on the bottom just like we did the top. Slide that over, and basically we're done. Tested, it seems to hold that way. Again, this is an older style Levolor Kirsch. I don't even know if they still make this particular style, but I'm a dealer, and even my dealer cost, when I would ask for some repairs to be done, I'd have to send everything out to Salt Lake City, and they charged $75 a piece just to restring these. Now I know why, because I've been doing this about 45 minutes or so, but that's a way that you two can restring these shades yourself. I guess the last step that I didn't see is put these caps back on. You see how the that flat tape comes out of that, and all this does, it snaps on the top. Let's see if we can do that one. There. And that kind of pinches the cord to make sure that that ribbon stays flat, plus give it a little bit more friction. That also can be why, where'd the other one go? There it is. That also could be why that these cords, or these flat tapes, get a little bit more wear and tear on them. They do, with age, they will, dry out and the edges will fray and cause it to malfunction. But as long as we can still get that flat tape, which it's still available, but it is expensive, you can pay anywhere from, $2 to $3 a foot for that stuff. At any rate, if you have any questions, you can always email me at jeff@windowpro.co. Hope you enjoyed it.